And say good afternoon to everyone. My name is David Cockrell. I am the Marketing Communications Director for the American Association of Community Theater, and we welcome you today to this webinar about online marketing in today's world of COVID-19. So welcome. I want to first of all say, if you are not a member of ACT, consider becoming a member. We welcome all of you here today, but if you'd like some information about membership, go to act.org, AACT.org, and there's a join button on the front page and lots of information about the benefits of being a member, and we certainly appreciate it. If you are a member, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. So today, let's get right to our webinar. I'd like to introduce Julie Nemtiz. She is the founder and chief content officer for Playhouse Marketing Group. Let me say a few things. Julie has spent over 15 years moving up in media and marketing career ladder, leading brands to execute innovative marketing campaigns across print, digital, video, e-commerce, social media, and influencer marketing. For the past several years, Julie has developed digital marketing content and media strategies for over 30 theatrical productions. So Julie, we welcome you today, and I'll let you get started. Wait, let's go to what you are going to do today. At the bottom of your screen, there is a black bar. There is a Q&A. It says Q&A. If you want to go there and post a question, please do. If you read a question that's on there, you can upvote it and it moves it up on the list of what will be answered at the end of today. So please participate with us. Julie, take it away.
David, thank you so much. Jill, Kiana, Karen, Winston, thank you all for inviting me to spend this next hour with you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let's get this going. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
And action. Thank you again for joining. This is one of my favorite images. It hangs in my office of Lin-Manuel, because when I feel like I'm not doing enough, I just need to remember that you have as many hours in the day as Lin-Manuel Miranda. So welcome again. We're going to be talking today about online marketing for the theater in the times of COVID-19. Now, for theater makers that are committed to staying on top of mind with your patrons and volunteers during this summer of social distancing, limited programming, and dark theaters, then this hour is for you. And whether you are just getting your feet wet with digital content and marketing, or you're looking for inspiration and new ideas, this hour is also for you. So when I asked my Facebook community what they wanted to see and learn during this webinar, I heard some interesting answers, but Jim was my favorite when he said, everything, I'm a sponge, I wear square pants. And I always love to say that these are my people and you are my people. So again, thank you for joining me today for this conversation. Now, I'd love for you guys to stay with me till the end because I'm going to do Q&A. David's going to help me facilitate that. And we've got Karen and David and Winston in the chat. So they'll be curating all the questions, as David mentioned. But I've also got some cool offers and opportunities for you guys at the end as well. So stay tuned, okay? Now, the other thing too is I'd love to ask you to turn off all your distractions, put the cell phones down, close out some of your windows, shut your door, and make sure we're quiet backstage so that we can really focus in, because I've got a lot of information I want to give you in a small amount of time, okay? So why are you here today? That's the first question I want to ask all of you. There are a lot of reasons. Reason one could be, you should be doing more marketing online, but you and your theater aren't certain of where to start. But then a lot of you, and for some of you, you're really trying to figure out what to do next, right? You've been doing it for a while and you're trying to figure it out. What's working right now is one of the questions we're going to talk about. Reason number two might be digital marketing feels overwhelming and you want to find out ways to make it less overwhelming. Oh, and by the way, I know that all of your marketing budgets are traumatized. We're wondering what's affordable or even free right now. As community theaters grapple with closures and how we're going to be reopening safely, the money is just not there that used to be, right? And so we want to figure out ways to circumvent that with opportunities in digital that aren't Spielberg-sized budgets. Reason number 3, you know you need to connect with your audiences and volunteers more, but you're feeling challenged about it. What are some ideas and recommendations about how to be connecting more online? So those are the 3 areas we're going to be talking about. So even if just one of these makes sense to you or to your organization, then you guys are going to feel great about the next hour. A little bit about me really quickly. Theater is my sport. I grew up in a family of theater makers and theater performers and directors and writers. My father and mother met in the theater, and when my mom found out she was pregnant with me, she was playing Hattie LaRue in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and my father was Bud Frump on the stage at Kalamazoo Civic Theater. So summer theater and regional theater and community theater are in my blood since I was born. Of course, I married an actor, and we spent 15 glorious years living in New York City, had 2 kids. We were growing 2 theater kids, and we love the theater, and I'm incredibly dedicated to it. And then also marketing is my jam, right? I have spent 15 years, like David said, working in marketing and media, whether it was for big brands like Procter & Gamble and Nestle and Purina and Johnson & Johnson and Microsoft, really helping them cultivate and curate digital content for the big brands. I also have worked on sets and video shoots. I've recently done programs with socialmedia.org and Stacy London to create a video series for the Meijer stores here in the Midwest. And I speak a lot at Western Michigan University on behalf of the American Marketing Association. So I'm a guest lecturer for their marketing series as well. And then some of you may recognize my face or my name from the participating I do with the Spotlight magazine that ACT puts out every other month. So I've been enjoying writing for them as well. So that's a little bit about me. I also started my digital work working with Camp Broadway. And like David said, I've been doing theater marketing. I've brought a lot of what I've learned in big brand marketing for the major companies into the theater world to help innovate and drive change and digital connection within theater organizations. Enough about me. It led to what I'm doing now, which is the Playhouse Marketing Group. I have different programs and solutions for theaters across the country. An academy, I have a membership group called the Playhouse Theater Marketeers that maybe some of my members are on today. I believe a few of them wrote me this morning that they'll be on, so hello. I have a podcast every week that's called Butts and Seats Theater Marketing Podcast that I talk about theater marketing on. And then my newest venture is Creatives Going Digital, which is helping creatives find their own online space to create and create their own businesses online. So that's what I'm doing now. So suffice it to say, I'm a busy person. Here's my question to all of you now. Let's move on. Enough about me. Did you ever think in a million years that you'd be called upon to become digital media producers before Corona? If I had told you in December at a holiday party that you'd be forced and walking towards digital media marketing online faster than you ever thought, would you have said yes? I doubt it. But I will tell you that a lot of theaters didn't either, but they are now. We've got an example is Dan Danielowski, who's the executive director of Timberlake Playhouse in Mount Carroll, Illinois. And he turned on a dime. And not only did he learn a program like StreamYard within 48 hours and went live on his theater's website, he also has curated an amazing group of special artists and guest artists to come in and teach this summer at his theater. So he leaned in and he's making digital work for his theater. Kim McCutcheon from Gaslight Playhouse in Fort Wayne, Indiana. She actually she and her group had finally secured their own dedicated theater location after 40 years as vagabonds around Fort Wayne, Indiana, only to be closed for Corona. Did she stop running their theater? Did she stop working with her team? No, they figured out how to go online. They figured out how to start making money to keep the rent paid. People that didn't think they had to figure out how to be digital became digital. Rob Weiner and Adam Weiner and Jeremy Koch from Farmers Alley Theater leaned in fast on digital, and they created a perfectly curated weekly content schedule. They have running content all week long to help support their patrons and their donors and the people that love the theater. And Doug Hughes is incredible. Doug Hughes is the marketing director at South Bay Musical Theater in the suburbs of San Francisco. And his theater completely turned on a dime, and they created an e-studio. All of their programming money went online. His partnership with his team really created solutions and digital content online to support their needs in both donations as well as viewership of their audiences. So, there are people out there doing it, and I know a lot of you are on this webinar right now that are doing the same, and it's fantastic. Now, of course, you all read the news. We were talking about it before we went live. The news is everything, and we read every day about how theater is being impacted by the coronavirus. We're planning a month out. We hope we're planning 3 months out, but then it changes. The news keeps changing. What isn't changing is how the media is covering how theater is adapting to the digital space. And whether we are feeling Zoom fatigue or we're feeling like we're in the middle of something before something else happens, it really is become a fact that never in our lifetime as a theater did we ever feel like we would be in this position, but we are. And as we head out of this first phase of closures and of isolation, and we're figuring out how it makes sense to kind of tiptoe our way back into civilization, digital can't go away. It has to be a part of the conversation, and it has to be a part of how we're making solutions for our audiences, and so importantly for community theater, our volunteers. And that's really one thing I want to keep focus on in this next time we're talking is, how are we servicing our volunteers? How are we supporting them? How are we supporting them emotionally and artistically? And I always have to have a Sondheim quote in everything I do because he is everything to me. But he always taught us that opportunity is not a lengthy visitor. And although we've got a lot against us and a lot of challenges happening right now as theater artists and theater executives, we have opportunity. I looked back at this post that I made in my social media and within my Playhouse Theater Marketing Academy group, and this was dated on March 18th. So it was really near the beginning of the coronavirus epidemic that the light bulb went off in my head that to keep our audience's attention, affinity, and affection with online content, because in the near future, when we need them to take action, they'll be ready. And I asked them, what content are you creating online for them today? And it goes right back to in the near future, when you need them to take action, they'll be ready, right? Whether you need them to donate, or you need them to participate in something, or you need them to re-engage to help support you in buying tickets, either online or outdoors or in your theater with limited seating capacity, they're there and they're ready because they know you supported them. Now, really quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on marketing theory right now, but there is one concept I want everyone to be around the center of, and it's about marketing old style. Marketing old style was marketing at people, shoving things in their face, making sure that they saw it, that there was a disruption in the journey. The perfect example is television commercials. They disrupted your content journey. They disrupted it by showing you a commercial. That's why DVRs were invented. That's why Netflix is invented. That's why pay-per-view is invented, that the disruption became something that wasn't a positive thing to consumers, right? It left often negative ads in people's faces all the time became a negative impression of advertising. And consumers decided that that wasn't the way that they wanted to be marketed to, right? Now, new style marketing is very different. It's about creating experiences. It's about storytelling. It's about for and with inclusivity. It's about tribalism. And I use that word carefully because what I mean by it is, I mean, you are finding your people. They're in your community, you know who they are, and you're holding them close. You're pulling your bubble in, because marketing to them does not mean the same thing as throwing ads in their face. It's about finding a way to be for them and with them. Now, during the height of the corona pandemic, when we were all isolated and sheltering in place, I held jam sessions on Zoom every Friday with a bunch of theaters. And I remember in early April, a marketing person who will remain anonymous, see, I blurred out the face. I remained anonymous, but she stated to the group, I don't want to make content just for the sake of having something to post. And I had to start thinking about what that really meant, because that is a common belief system in marketing, where, well, you don't do something if it's not going to be recognized, if it's not going to actually move the needle. But I will tell you that the people that have marketed over the past 3 months, the people that, when I say marketing, when people have created content online digitally and promoted it to their audiences, everyone that has appeared in or viewed online content from theaters, whether it was directors, executives, actors, designers, fans, donors, board members, they say things like, I miss my theater family so much. Thank you for doing this. I really needed to see everyone. Don't stop. I love all the content you're doing. What else can I participate in? When Doug Hughes and his team and the executive director at South Bay Musical Theater decided to start holding Zoom shows with their cast, they invited people from their community to come in. This wasn't broadcast. This was just purely for their volunteers, purely something for them to do. And they read the Princess Bride script, and everyone took on a character, and everyone created their backgrounds, and they made their own costumes at home. A lot of you theaters, I know you did this over the last couple of months, but that was so meaningful to the volunteers that impacts how they're going to act and react with you moving forward. This is why digital marketing and digital content is so important to theaters, and to think about how that progresses throughout the summer for you. So old style marketing, not so great. New style marketing, when you put your brain into creating experiences, storytelling, and being for and with, and finding your people, that's going to be the secret to success. And this is one of my favorite quotes by Duncan Wardle. He says, the biggest barrier to innovation is our own experience. Dramatic pause, pregnant pause. He's the chief of innovation and creativity at Disney. And to think that way is a way that's hard for a lot of people, because the human brain goes into your millions of catalogs in your brain to think of everything that you can associate with something, whether or not it's going to work. And the challenge we face right now is that how do we innovate if we're relying on what we've done forever, or what our theater has done forever? Bringing our brains into innovation requires a path, right? A path to that end product. And that's a bit more of what we're going to talk about today. Now, the digital trifecta is what I like to call the 3 most important platforms that any theater needs to rock, right? There's your website, and there's your email, and then there's your social media. So these 3 citrus fruits are critical to managing what digital content you put forth. And there are so many digital platforms. We're going to talk about some new ones today, but these 3 are the ones that you want to be touching every single day to keep your theater progressing. Now, one of the things we wanted to talk about, well, what's working right now? What's winning online right now, right? As we head out of the social isolation and into a summer that we don't really know what's going to happen yet. What's working? Well, we do know this. A fluid and flexible website is important. It needs to house all the content and updates for your patrons, your volunteers, and if you have an education program, your students. Nothing has changed in the world of digital. Your website is still your virtual front door of your theater. Your website is still the place where most people, when they think of you, they're going to go. And it pains me when I see theaters that haven't updated their website since February. It looks like nothing happened. It's the same as like my dad's in physical therapy and I go to the physical therapy website and there's no mention of like what the safety precautions are. They think the world hasn't changed. Like how do we stay safe in your environment? So the website is a critical piece of your communication that you want to be touching every day, and making it a flexible one is really important. Websites were built, a lot of theater websites were built in the days where a website was supposed to be the encyclopedia of your theater. It has 700 pages. It has, information back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. What's important right now is immediate. How do I engage with you? How do I receive content from you? And so it's really important that you're creating a fluid and flexible website. You also want to make sure that it is tightly connected to your analytics platforms. You want to make sure your Facebook pixels are there and firing. You want to make sure that your Google Analytics are set up so that when it comes time for you to start promoting something, like you are going to do this show this summer, you are going to begin doing online content for a cost with ticket sales, you've collected all the information that people have been going to your website or they've been visiting on Facebook, and you're able to talk to them directly. Working your email really hard. Okay, I think I subscribe to about 150 theater email lists, and I can tell you that email is the most powerful digital marketing tool you have, and it's not used enough. It just isn't. And it is so important that you have an email service provider, also called an ESP, that is easy and flexible to use. Now, I hate presentations where I see lots of bullets, but this is why I have bullets here, because it's so important that you guys are working your email. It is very important that they continue to hear from you. And an email is a great place for you to have communication regularly with your patrons and with your volunteers. And one mistake I see a lot of theaters making is they send out one mass email that has things in it about volunteering. It has things in it about production. And a lot of times the volunteer information gets so detailed, and it's almost like it's so detailed, but I will never volunteer for your church, for your theater. So why would I get all this information about volunteering? So yeah, I think it's really important to start thinking about how do you segment your email lists so that you're talking to your patrons and your audience in one email, but then you're also talking to your volunteers in a very different way. Contributions from staff and board, leadership transparency is very important right now. Featured artists and audience favorites, volunteer profiles, reminder emails when you're going live online. A lot of people are using email and they're going to websites. And when you think about it, when you think about the average age of your patrons in your city, in your area, they're most likely to be confident using email, understanding how to get to a website. When you ask them to hunt down some content on Facebook or try to open an Instagram file or log through YouTube to find the YouTube channel, it's just too much for them. Keeping everything simple and using email to communicate your updates is really important. Sending reminders that you're going live or that you are posting some content today is another great way to make sure that you're giving them a direct link, so it makes it easy for them to find your content. Memory lane content is working really well. Oh, remember in 1988 when we did this show? those kind of shows and that kind of content in email is working really well. I just participated in a cast reunion for the musical It Should Have Been You for a theater, and that was hysterical. It was so much fun. The audience loved it. Getting email list building tactics integrated into your social media. And what I mean by that is that when you are on social media, make it very easy for people to join your email list, right? You want to capture their email address because you own email addresses, right? That's a database that you own. You're not relying on Facebook. You're not relying on Instagram. You're not relying on YouTube to help you find your people. You've got their email address, right? And email is still one of the most cost-efficient ways for you to use digital marketing. For every dollar you spend on email, you get an average of $42 back in return. So overall, in the scope of things, email is one of the most cost-effective things that you can be doing for your digital marketing. Creating nurture sequences is critical. And this might be a new term for some of you, but when you have your email, you want to make sure that when somebody new joins your list, that they receive a series of emails. That welcome email that you send after someone signs up to be on your list has an open rate of an average of 82%. So you want to make sure that that first email is rocking, but then you also want to follow it up with a series of emails so they stay connected with your theater. And lastly, polls and surveys. I can't tell you how beneficial it has been for the theaters I work with to be putting out polls early and polling often, because things are changing often. We can do a poll 1 week and then a month later, it might be outdated, but that's okay, because I believe that data informs decisions, right? And data includes feedback from that critical group, whether it's a volunteer survey or it is a patron survey. That information coming back is critical to decisions that you're making. And it's a digital platform in itself, right? You're creating information and you're gathering insights online to help you make informed decisions. Cool. Now, moving on from email, the other third citrus is social media, obviously. And over the last 3 months, it's been pretty obvious that social media has boomed. People over 30 years old are really leaning in on Instagram. Their use is up 80% versus last year. No question that TikTok is absolutely everything to teens. They're using it 258 times more and more often than they did last year. YouTube is interesting. Google told us about a month ago that arts content uploads on YouTube were up 60%, and the viewership was up 20% of that content. So, of course, Facebook Live continues to be a popular platform that Facebook wants you to use, and that's been up 150%, and time spent on Facebook is up 84%, right? So it's obvious that social media is a place where viewership has risen over the past 3 months. Now, taking a pause, because I have some words about the reality of Facebook and Instagram. And that is me when Facebook changes all their rules and their algorithms. But the truth is that Facebook and Instagram are platforms that are fueled and funded by advertising. So in order for your content to be seen, you have to spend money to reach those eyeballs, right? Only if you post something on social media, it averages about 5% of the people that like or follow your theater's page actually get that information in their newsfeed. And you have to work really, really hard to get that number up. We're going to talk in a minute about some of those ways you can do it. But the important thing is that Facebook doesn't want organic information to succeed per se. They really want you to be spending money to make sure that your content gets seen. And it's a hiccup, but it's something that you can overcome. The other thing, I want to bring up 2 or 3 things that I've seen theaters do in the country that really worked well. And one of them was activating in your local bubble. What do I mean by that? I mean that theaters that are connecting and creating content in partnership with local organizations are growing awareness and affinity, right? They're growing their future audiences. Theaters that are connecting with first responder groups, their public schools, their downtown associations, and importantly, their senior living communities are finding great success in growing awareness and engagement in their content. And those are future audiences that you want to come back and see something that you're producing. Embracing audience growth outside of your bubble is another important thing that digital marketing can do for you. And that is using social media monitoring to reach out to new faces online, invite them to follow your page. It can be that simple, right? Because of the coronavirus, we've seen an explosion of people that are watching content that don't even live near us. That is the huge opportunity. And I know that Traylon and Brendan talked about it the other day in their live stream. There's a huge opportunity for you to start having people watching content online that may never stepped foot in your theater. And that's really when I talk about innovation, I talk about that being the pathway to the future. And the other thing is to be consistent and use easy list building techniques. So if you see somebody new that's logged on or made a comment or liked your page, make sure they know how to join your email list. Get that email list so they can come into your world and you can communicate with them regularly. This is a great one. And I didn't think of it. One of the Playhouse Theater Marketing Academy members did. But finding local digital first companies in your area to sponsor online content. So there are so many digital companies popping up here and there. Everybody's an entrepreneur nowadays. So what happens if you give them a call? What happens when you call them and say, listen, we're doing this online content and we're looking for some sponsors? You know, sponsorship and marketing and development, they're all becoming one, right? Hopefully your theaters are not working in silos anymore, and your development director and your sponsorship director and your marketing director are all best friends. We can all hope that, right? But what we're learning is the models are changing, then we're also getting growth. So for example, with this, if Vision Web, let's say, is a company in your town, let's say they are interested in working with you, but they're not going to spend $10,000 to become a theater sponsor, but they might throw you a couple grand to help be a part of something you're doing online, right? It's a whole different paradigm shift of how you think about partnering with local businesses, right? And that is a big part of marketing too, is how do you get those partnerships out into the world, get them out and aware as people are moving back into looking at your content. You're also putting them into your learning curve, right? We're all learning. We're all trying and failing. We're all trying things that are new and different. And that's what digital is all about. Everything doesn't have to be the perfect opening night, closing night performance. That's how the future looks like. Now, this is going to be obvious to most of you, but video first digital content strategy is a must, right? I like to say, if anybody comes to a meeting with an idea about how to promote a show or how to communicate a show, you need to say, how can we do that in video, right? How can we make that into a video? Because video content is what is being consumed by younger and new audiences. It's really where you want to be, where your theater wants to be, is in creating video. Now, what's shocking is that Cisco believes that by 2022, 82% of the content that's actually even viewed online is going to be video. I know. 55% of people are watching video on a phone or a tablet. And that changes everything that we thought about video, because shooting video for a phone looks very different than making a movie, right? So there's lots of important things to be thinking about, and thinking about how video works in all of these buckets. And I put TikTok here for a reason, because I think that there's a huge opportunity for theaters with youth programs and with youth directors to really lean in on TikTok this summer. Obviously, it's the platform of choice for anyone under the age of 25. And if you have a youth theater director and a group of students, a group of young actors that want to start creating content for your theater, it's an incredible way for you guys to grow your reach and grow awareness of your theater to the younger audiences. So really think about that. What does TikTok look like for your youth programs this summer? Number 2, digital marketing innovations, okay? We just talked about a bunch of ideas about what's working right now in digital marketing. Let's talk about what's looking in the future and what's working for digital marketing innovations. And I'm going to bring my quote up one more time. The biggest barrier to innovation is our own experience. Duncan Wardle from Disney. The first thing I want you to think about is evolving your thinking about what membership and subscriptions mean for your theater. There are 3 platforms that are rising to the top of conversations about what does membership and subscription look like in the digital age. I look at a lot of them, and these 3 to me are worth your investigating. They are platforms that you can use that allow you to create communities online. These communities can be patron and audience based, and importantly, they can be volunteer based, right? Patreon is a platform where you pay a membership, you can pay a membership fee for access to content, right? Mighty Networks is an incredible platform for you to create a community online for your volunteers. MemberPress is an amazing plugin that works if your website runs on WordPress. It literally integrates itself right into your website. So you've got 3 options here: Patreon for paid content online and group connection. You've got Mighty Networks, which is a great solution for volunteer connection, and MemberPress puts it all right into your website as another option. The thing is that digital platforms are built to communicate, share content, resources, and find connection with like-minded theater lovers, right? It doesn't replace them going out for a drink after rehearsal. It doesn't replace them gathering before they start in on building the set. It's in addition, it's additive to the experience, right? And that's the way to think about digital platforms for yourself. It's a way to think about how are we going to work memberships if we're going to start thinking about if we want people to, maybe some people can come into our theater, but then other people can watch it online, or they can watch it live, or they can watch a recording. How does all of that come together? It comes together on a digital platform. And mastering those platforms is really important, right? There are so many. But if you're using StreamYard right now, bravo to you. It's a wonderful share extension software that allows you to broadcast like a TV show onto Facebook and YouTube and your website, right? So you can create a system where you can have guests come in, you can play videos, you can play music, all the things that you want to be doing in that world. StreamYard is a great solution. We all know how to use Zoom. We're on it right now. Crowdcast, Vimeo, ShowShare. Traylon and Brendan brought us through that earlier last week. It's a fantastic platform to be thinking about. Learning about all these platforms is really important, but then it's also, how does that work for my theater? These are the conversations that leading theaters are all having right now. And it all dovetails back into, well, how are we going to present this to the public? How are we going to market it, right? Choosing options on and off crowded social media networks is a priority. Okay. Of course, it made tons of sense when during the height of the corona to be broadcasting right into Facebook or broadcasting right into YouTube and getting people there to watch stuff, right? But at the end of the day, those are crowded and those are disrupted experiences. How many shows have you watched on Facebook where all of a sudden you found yourself looking up in Messenger and, oh, somebody just messengered me, or, oh, look over here on my feed, somebody just oh, somebody else is going live. Like, that is not the ultimate perfect situation for theaters, which is why places like Patreon and Vimeo and Crowdcast, which I'm in love with, and ShowShare, they all make sense in how to focus your marketing and also your digital platforms into a space that you own. You own their attention, okay? Education and lifelong learning will be done online. So you really need to know your options. If you have an education platform at your theater, you know these names probably: Google Classroom, Zoom, Kajabi, Crowdcast. They are all platforms that help you do digital learning and online learning easily and accessibly. And I'll tell you, I put lifelong learning in there for a reason, because there are so many people over the age of 70 that are fully engaged in learning, and online has opened up a world to them that they never had before. Book clubs, script analysis, discussions, character development. There is so much you can do online with people that you can't do in person. And that's sort of a flip and a shift for a lot of educators, but it is an important conversation to be having if your theater has an education program. This growing segment of population will be using online learning permanently. I believe it should be a permanent plank and a permanent place in your digital strategy moving forward for the theater. Now, the other thing I want to talk about really quickly is activating influencer marketing tactics in social media marketing strategy. And influencer marketing's been around forever, but theaters, I feel, have a rare opportunity right now to overcome that social media algorithm, right? How are they always pushing down all, you're not able to reach everybody. Well, a lot of theaters say, well, 5,000 people follow my Facebook page. How come they're not all engaged? Remember, Facebook is not showing them all your content. And so influencer marketing helps you overcome that. And I'll explain why. When you're engaging your top fans or you're using pod activation, those theaters are growing their audience and their online reach. And then people are trying and seeing and watching for the first time, and trial content consumption is up too. So let me explain what a pod is. A pod is a group of people that when something gets posted on social media, they know it immediately and they spread it. So they share it to their friends and family, they comment on it, they support it, they love it, they share it, they repost it. They do all those activities to help the momentum of your content build. And I love to use the example of my dear friend Nancy, who is such an influencer online. If Nancy posts something that she bought a shirt, everyone wants the same shirt. If Nancy posts that she loved this TV show, everybody says, well, I'm going to watch it now. If Nancy says this show is great, everybody wants tickets. And I believe that every community has a Nancy, and they are the people that you want to engage with and say, hey, we know you love the theater. Come on out and support us and become a part of our little our influencer group. It's a great way for them to feel special, especially our volunteers. I don't think that Facebook groups are being used to their maximum effectiveness with a lot of theaters, where your volunteers really can find a place to connect and communicate, and doing things like influencer marketing or doing influencer programs with that group of volunteers can be incredibly successful for your theaters. Now, I want to take a pause for a moment, because you've heard a lot so far about all of these marketing techniques, all these new marketing innovations, all these new marketing things you can be doing digitally. And you might be thinking, oh my God, where are all these people going to come from? How can I possibly do all of this, right? That is where the change is happening. And we're going to talk a minute about some solutions, but it really is the evolving and changing responsibilities of marketing and theater come with things like learning how to be a community manager, learning how to look at your people and figure out what skills they have. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but really the marketing responsibilities are evolving and aligning a bit more with what the digital marketing world does. Now, remember, a customer talking about their experience with you is worth 10 times that which you write or say about yourself. So it is so important that you get those volunteers and those staff members helping to support you in your digital journeys, right? David Greer said that he's a marketing expert. Number 3, this is going to be fun. So this is the last section, and I just wanted to walk you through a few things. I promise some tips and tricks and things that don't cost a lot of money. This is this section. And I want to talk to you about evolving your digital marketing world at your theater. Number 1, as I just said, one of the most important things smart theaters did over the last couple of months is survey your staff to unearth unknown skills in the digital world. Their expertise is in demand. Here are two examples. Carrie, who's a stage manager and a master electrician, all of a sudden, she's an online show producer and a host. She learned digital platforms in a minute, and she is up and running and helping supporting the theater. It's incredible that they have these skills that you don't necessarily know about. And they're not, she's not hanging lights right now. She's now becoming an online solution for the theater. Tony Mitchell is a sound designer, professional sound designer, and creates original music for theater. But who knew he was also a professional video editor on staff? So how does his job shift? It makes complete sense that he becomes a core part of a digital marketing team at a theater. He's also producing online shows. So do that in your own world. Who are the people that have skills that you didn't know about? And you wouldn't even assume that they have. That's a big step you can take to help support and maybe temporarily change their job descriptions. This is I'm bringing another thing from the digital world into the theater world that I believe is critical, and that's adapting a cloud-based production management platform. I've looked at a lot of them, and there are two that are the best, Asana and Monday.com. Now, what these are these cloud-based, which means you do everything on the web. You don't have to download software. You don't have to buy a big program. Everything lives in the cloud, and they are production management solution. So that if you've got a project, you can actually organize it online, assign people to duties, check on when they're due, review content, approve content. It's an amazing system that I think as theaters move into a more digital world, having that platform built from the beginning is going to save you so much time and energy. It actually reduces staff meetings, right? If you're constantly meeting to say, what's going on with this project? What's going on with that project? If it's all living digitally, your answers are right at your fingertips. Asana is free. If you want to upgrade yourself a little bit, you can pay $11 per month for each user that uses it. Monday.com has a free trial, and then it's $10 a month for 5 people to use it. They both have nonprofit discounts. So it's financially affordable. And as you move your theater into more digital content making, starting at the ground level with a platform that helps you stay organized is really important. So check out both of those platforms and think about how they might work for your theater. Stepping up your DIY design. I know a lot of theaters had to stop working with their agencies. I know a lot of theaters that had to lay off their graphic designers. I mean, it's just heart-wrenching to hear the stories. At the same time, you can't stop making stuff. So think about using Canva. If you're a marketing director, or you're someone on staff, or you're the head of the volunteer division, or you're the youth director, you can learn how to do Canva. I always say I am not a graphic designer, and if I can use Canva, anybody can use Canva. It's free, and for $9.95 a month, you can upgrade to the Pro account. And what's super cool about Canva is you can make an image, and then you can just resize it. You can make one design, and then you resize it for Facebook and Instagram stories and Instagram and your website and your StreamYard. It goes in minutes, and there's just no reason why anyone can't be a designer now with Canva. Lastly, DIY video solutions. This is a little bit old because a couple months ago, everybody was figuring out what does their home studio look like, but this is a resource, and this is an area where you can also control and maximize how you're creating video if you are still doing home-based content. And there are great platforms for editing. iMovie and Filmora are two very affordable ones. iMovie is free. Facebook Creator Studio. I know a lot of you may not be using this yet, but you really should. It is a function in Facebook that allows you to update and schedule all of your social media posts at once. It's called bulk scheduling, where you create all your content at once and then you upload it all at the same time, and then set timers so that they go off at the right times throughout the day, the weeks, and the months, right? It allows you to monitor all your analytics, and it allows you to manage your playlists and your series content. So if you're doing a series of videos online, if Doug Hughes is doing a series of donor testimonials for his theater at South Bay Musical Theater. So he's got videos planned for months of people talking right to the camera about how much they love the theater, and it's helping grow and support their membership and their donor platform. So it's a really great way for you guys to schedule all that stuff and not have to be going in every day and working in social media, and really helps you organize yourself. If you are still going to Facebook and you have a little bit of money and you're hitting the boost button, stop immediately. You've got to evolve your do-it-yourself Facebook ad buying, and you really need to move into the Facebook Business Manager platform. It is a big part of what we do in the Marketeers is figuring out how to work your advertising into Facebook Business Manager when you are working on advertising on social media. But it's important that you're not hitting that boost button anymore, and you need to be moving into Facebook Business Manager. It's so much more affordable, and it allows you to use your own data. Do you remember we were talking earlier about your email database? Did you know you can take all of those email addresses that you own in your email list and import them into Facebook? And then Facebook can go out and find them when they're on social media. And it's such a win because you already know they like your theater. You already know they've become a donor or they've been an audience member. And now you're just reaching them in a different place. You're not reaching them in their email. You're reaching them with a message on Facebook. And so you're already talking to people that are loving on your theater. So it's a really important thing for every theater to be migrating to. This is the last one I want to talk about before we head into Q&A. And that's developing consistent promotion schedules. And this is a big process thing that a lot of theaters have to get used to. And that is workflows. So what happens when you make something? This is just an example of a workflow that we use on some content if we're getting ready to go live with video, right? I'm not going to walk through step by step, but I will just point out that, you know, as something's ready to go live, you're working in your email, you're working in your social media, you're alerting your staff and your influencer pod that something's about to happen, get ready. You're getting ready to go live, you're telling people about it, you go live, you're engaging live in chat while things are live, you're talking to people, you're writing comments, you're posting links, you're starting watch parties. Watch parties are huge. That's when your influencers share that on their Facebook and watch it live with all of their friends. Remember, we're talking about overcome the algorithm, overcome people being limited in seeing your content. Watch parties solve for that. And that's a Facebook function. And lastly, when your content's over, you got to get it right into IGTV. And if you weren't running on YouTube, get it right onto YouTube, get it on your website, schedule a replay. There are so many different things you can do after you made a piece of content that can keep it living, right? Analyzing the results afterwards. Was it successful? Did we have growth? All those questions. Okay. That was a lot, I know. But I hope that you found a few things in there that you went, aha, this is something I want to pursue. This is something that might make sense for my theater as I innovate. And you're thinking as a theater maker, I can innovate there. I can do that. That's something I can look into, right? And lastly, I wanted to say that consumer choice in content consumption has finally found its way into the theater. And again, opportunity is not a lengthy visitor. Giving patrons the choice in how they consume your content is going to benefit your theater for years to come. It is not digital or live. It is not in my theater or not. It is everything. It is additive to what you've done for decades. If you're an older theater, for hundreds of years. Okay. With that, I thought we could open it up to Q&A. David, how are we doing on time? I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Hello.
We're less than 10 minutes, so we're going to go through some questions rapidly. The first couple were submitted before we started, and both of them deal with individual performers that want to set up online marketing. And so they're looking for resources to assist individual performing, setting it up. Can you have any input on that?
Absolutely. You know, that is the biggest thing that's happened to me personally over the last 3 months is individual people reaching out to me going, Julie, I know you do this for theaters, but I need help. I need to figure out how to make money again. I need to figure out how to create a business online. I do not know where to start. I don't even know how to upload content. I don't know where it's supposed to go. How do I get it to people? And that's why I created a different area of Playhouse Marketing Group, and it's called creativesgoingdigital.com. So if you want to learn more, you can really start along that path with me, and you can start learning all those things about how to create an online business for yourself as a creative artist, as a creative expert, and figure out how to actually move what you do online.
Okay. Here's the question. What advice would you have in regards to being sensitive to the current times, i.e. Black Lives Matter, while also promoting your business without it being perceived as insensitive to emotions right now?
I have not been as busy in my group right now because that has been a lot of what I've been managing with the theaters that I work with is moving ourselves through this era and the seismic change that has to be happening from the ground up in every theater organization. I'll talk in a minute about what I'm doing, but I would say it is too late for statements. So if your theater hasn't already made their Black Lives statement, it's 2 weeks too late. You need to be moving into a quiet space where you're reinvesting and reevaluating what your practices are in your theater and how you're going to change. And you're starting to work on a plan of action. What actions are you taking for change? If you let your people, you let your audiences, your patrons, your donors, if you let your actors and volunteers know that you're beyond making a statement, that you're looking at your past, you're looking at your present, and you're looking at your future, and that you are dedicated to making a plan of action and a plan of change, I feel strongly that helps move back into a space where it's okay to start talking about why it's important what you do is done. Right? If you're trying to think about how am I going to market a show right now when things are so tenuous, it's really about doing that work and committing to it and then figuring out the right way to message a show.
Okay. Here's another question. If a theater's marketing professional isn't in control of content being created, i.e. the education artistic team creating online plays, educational instructions, etc., then what kind of content do you suggest we post? How do we encourage our production and artistic team members to be inspired to create content? How do we stay relevant when we really aren't offering anything right now?
It's so tough. I've studied with the story brand methodology of digital marketing, and a lot of it is based on brain function and how humans react and work in situations. Humans are not adept at loyalty. Humans tend to go where they see things happening first and quickly and things that are moving quickly. And when your theater does not participate in the conversation and they don't create content and they aren't doing that, it's a big challenge because their audiences will go elsewhere. People that love theater are already inundated. They already have Broadway HD. They have Netflix. They have Broadway on Demand. There's Seth Rudetsky's home series on every other day. There's so much content to absorb, but they're not feeling loyal to that. That's not their own hometown theater. And when you have if you have a team, an executive team that isn't super ready to do content, it's probably because they don't feel confident they know how to do it, right? They don't know I don't want to do something that won't work. Well, digital doesn't work that way. Digital is very fluid. It's very try it, see if it works. If it didn't, learn something from it and try it again. It's just a whole mindset of innovation and bravery in the digital world. And if you're in a marketing position and you don't have control over what content does and doesn't get produced, I would encourage you to have just a heart-to-heart conversation and send me an email and I'll help you find data, because again, I believe in data. Like, there, you can't make stuff up when if it's studied and there's data. And if you know that people are moving online and other theaters are succeeding, usually that helps get people to feel more confident and more brave. So
Okay.
send me an email.
You may have answered a couple of questions there.
Okay.
I'm going to just, we're running out of time, so there's a couple of them that people have asked.
Yes.
That was in reference to your presentation. What is a Facebook pixel and why connect it to the website?
Oh, okay. So a Facebook pixel helps you understand what people go from your from Facebook to your website. So when people are on your website, the Facebook pixel's recognizing them. Oh, look, David just went to my theater website. He's spending 10 minutes. I'm going to make sure I know that. And then when it comes time for you to run some advertising on Facebook, I'm going to go reach out to the people that were already visiting my website. Facebook knows, that pixel knows that you went to the theater website. And that means half of your work is done. You're already reaching an individual that already is engaged with your theater. And so it'll be easier for them to receive your messaging. That messaging could be, we're doing a benefit next month and we are doing it all online and we've got great producers. Dan Danielowski from Timber Lake, he did a benefit online, had Kate Baldwin, who's a Broadway superstar, who's an alumni of the theater, come in and do it. That kind of stuff is worth promoting, right? Now, if you're reaching somebody that's already been to your website, how awesome is it? They're probably not only going to come, but they're going to donate.
Yeah, and that's what we want.
That's what we want. I'm in marketing. Everything goes back to how are we going to make money? I know we're all nonprofits, but
do we need to update our Facebook page to the new layout?
The new layout, meaning the new there's new and old. It's totally up to you. Like, I don't really love working in the new platform yet. I'm getting there, but I'm still working in the old, and everything's just fine.
I'm going to go to one last question, and it may be a deep question.
Okay.
But because there are questions we haven't answered, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Do we have a hard stop?
Winston? No.
Okay.
We've postponed the show twice due to COVID. How can we best respond to negative PR?
I would say that I know a lot of executive directors and boards are pushing theaters to at least do something. Just put something out there that we are going to do a show, that we're not going away, that we're going to do something. I would say everything should rely on safety and what tier your state is at and how you're measuring safety. Right? If you've had to cancel twice, that probably tells me you didn't have your safety protocol in place. You weren't exactly following, maybe your state's guidelines weren't exactly being adhered to. I'm assuming here, I could be wrong, but the most important thing is the first thing you're doing is that you've got an activation team at your theater that is doing all of the due diligence on how to clean the theater, how to make people safe. How are we getting people in the theater? How are we getting them out? How are we eliminating all tickets and box office? How is everything being done on our phone? How are all those things happening? And that's the first message that you communicate to your public. Before we're doing a show, it's here's how we're keeping you safe. And in the future, here's a show we're looking at doing. Now, if you got bad PR because you try to do two things twice, they need to be more forgiving. This is uncharted territory. If we wanted to do a show, we really did, and we knew for your safety, and that the theater, it wants to be perfectly ready to receive and keep our beloved audiences safe, then that should be okay.
Okay, I'm looking.
Just be kind.
Okay. How do you suggest prioritizing marketing efforts if we have a one-person staff?
I know. I know. You got to be careful because people ask me that question, and I'm passionate for digital marketing. I would say in these times right now, there is no other platform. 80% of your job should be digital.
Okay.
And seeking out new sponsors and seeking out new ways to help get support in your community for your theater.
So there are a couple of questions about today's presentation. Are you providing a PowerPoint, or is it just the recording of the webinar? And I answer that by saying that the recording of this webinar is available at act.org webinars/webinars. But are you providing, there are people who have asked they would like to show something to their board, or is there a PowerPoint available?
Yes, a big one of my mission statements is to be completely open and accessible in information. So if you are on this website, if you're on this webinar today, you'll not only get a copy of this deck, you'll also get some additional materials for free. I believe in spreading information, so I've got a guide in how to have your community help you boost your social media, how to get around that algorithm. I have a digital marketing assessment that you can do on your theater to see how you're doing. So I'm going to be sending a lot of free resources to you through email, because I'll be doing that in the next couple of days.
Okay. What are your suggestions for navigating licensing issues, particularly with shorter form video content on places like TikTok and Instagram?
This is choppy waters, and I'm on an organization webinar, and I will say that when it comes to licensing, you just want to be careful, and you want to do your if you're representing an organization and you're sending out content from your professional business or organization account, you do need to look into your licensing. So you do need, if you want to be doing songs, if you want to be performing songs, you have to make sure that your ASCAP and BMI licenses are in place and up to date for your organization. And then you need to take that second step, and you need to make sure that they're okay with you doing what you're doing. And I'm passionate about that because I have a lot of songwriter friends, and I know how upset they get when all their content gets done and they don't make any money from it. So it really is important to keep tight on your ASCAP and your BMI licenses for your theater, and then also investigate with them what the parameters and cost are for doing a full-size production. I think that Traylon talked about it a little bit on his webinar about Broadway licensing, but it is true that doing something live in the moment is very different than recording it and rebroadcasting it over and over and over again. Okay, so that's where things get really expensive. If you're going to go in and record music and then want to show it for a long time, that's when it gets expensive, and that's when you have to be very tight on your licensing.
Okay, just a couple more. As a smaller community theater, we are already all wearing multiple hats. How can I encourage online engagement within my own organization where they are not yet convinced that it's worth it in a smaller town?
Try it. Do a 5-day challenge. These work, I'm telling you. For 5 days, build into your calendar for 15 minutes, 3 times a day. Go online to our page and go to our Instagram account and start engaging. The way social media works is it's an algorithm that measures how much engagement you're getting in your content. So the more people that comment, the more people that like, the more people that read things and watch things, the more it gets seen, right? So if they're not convinced it's working, they only have to look at the data I showed in this presentation. Viewership and engagement is through the roof across all ages. Right? My dad wakes up and he's almost 84 years old, and he's holding up his iPad and he's online watching content. I mean, it spans everything. If they aren't convinced, email me and I'm going to give you the data to show it. Right?
Okay, I'm going to add, we're down to a last question that I'm choosing because
yes,
I want to know your thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on stock photography for marketing efforts?
I am of the mind that most theaters have already figured out and are successful with their photography model, that they have a photographer that comes and takes pictures of shows, and that stock photography doesn't resonate to humans the way that pictures of real life people do. So we've kind of moved away from that curated, beautiful, high touch, beautiful social media and into real, thoughtful and engaged and grittier content. So I think it's okay to be using, if you want to take a picture of 6 people sitting at a table and they're in your theater, that's going to be much more impactful than buying a picture from Shutterstock.
Okay, I think we need to wrap it up for today. There were a few
Great.
other questions. Did you want to give out information?
I do. If I could share my screen real quick
No,
again.
we're asking.
I'm sorry?
Well, people were asking if
Oh,
you
yes,
wanted to
absolutely.
share
Yes.
content.
Yes. So today you've heard a lot about what's important and why it's important. But if you're thinking about like, how do I actually do this? What I want to talk to you guys about is joining my membership group. And it's called the Playhouse Marketeers. And we do a lot in the membership. We do a lot of things throughout the month. There's a private Facebook community. There's education resources. There's video training. There's master classes by experts in the theater industry. We do jam sessions on Zoom. So we all get together and we talk about what's going on, what's going right, what's going wrong, what you need help with. They're incredible hours. I love them. There's more things that we do there. But what it used to be a very high cost to join. And because of Corona, I've really taken a look at the business model, and I want it to be inclusive and open to all. And so what I've done is I've reformatted it and I've opened it up this summer to allow for discounting. And so if you're on this webinar today, you get 20% off of your membership for the next 6 months. It brings it to about $12.79 a month. I mean, that's the cost of like 2 sandwiches if you want to bring your lunch a couple days a week to the theater. But it is, I would love to have you join. It's where we figure out how to do all of the stuff I talked about today, right? We know what it is, we know why you need to do it, but sometimes the how is really where the success lies. So I encourage you to check it out at ptma.rocks/join-marketeers, and you can learn more there. Please do join us there. And that's, the membership is open only until June 30th. Then we close it down for the summer, and I think we'll open one more time this year. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is someone brought up Black Lives Matters and all the issues and the challenges that we are faced as theater makers, and confronting systemic racism and the long history of BIPOC and POC oppression in the theater industry is real, and I'm responsible for making change happen. Personally, I'm a young business owner. I have not been around for a long time, and so how I'm affecting change is that I'm opening up the marketeers to scholarships to Black owned and operated theater organizations on free scholarship, as well as offering 2 months of free marketing consultation to Black led theaters this summer. And so if you know of, or you are a Black owned or operated theater organization in the US, please reach out to me. There's a special page on my website that outlines my statement of action when it comes to Black Lives Matters and and making theater equitable for everybody at this point. So please visit that website link. I'll also include it in the email when I send that out to you in a few days. But I'm very eager to start receiving information from theaters so that we can get them going. And I'm here to help marketing efforts and marketing education. Stay safe, stay sane, make content. Thank you so much for being here. Here's how you can reach out to me. I love Instagram, so I'm there a lot. There's my Facebook page. Please feel free to write me there. And then also email me. Anybody email me anytime. I'm happy to chat.
Okay, Julie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your experience with us today. We greatly appreciate it. I hope all of us that are here have gained something from today. I remind you that all of these ACT webinars are recorded. They are available at act.org/webinars. So check them all out. And while you're on that ACT page, become a member. There's individual members and organizational membership. So join us. I think that's all we have for today. We thank you for joining us, and good day.